Welcome to Mr. V Teaching Math. In this session, we're going to look at one of my favorite topics. One of those topics that's absolutely fundamental to everything that we do in math in the class that I teach. Take a look at this question. And think about what the answer is. If you think the answer is 16, you're wrong. The answer is 10. Why is the answer 10? Now, some of you, of course, looking at this question know exactly what I'm talking about already, because you know that you're supposed to do multiplication first and then add. So you do 2 times 4, which gives you 8, plus the 2, which gives you 10. And that's easy enough in that kind of question. What happens when you face a question like this? What are you supposed to do first in this question? This is where we're heading in the long run. We are going to start with simple questions that some of you will be able to do in your head. But eventually, it will get more complicated than that. And that's why I'm going to be extremely thorough and rather picky about how this is done. This is called the order of operations. In my classroom, we use this acronym in order to help us remember it. BEDMAS. Some places use a P instead of a B and call it PEDMAS. It doesn't really matter. It works the same way either way. BEDMAS or PEDMAS. Each one of these letters stands for a particular item. The first one being brackets, or parentheses if you want to use the P. Biggest brackets first. What do I mean by biggest brackets? Well, let me show you for a moment. This would be a standard set of brackets to start with. This would be a higher level of brackets. I call them bigger. This would be the next highest. Now, it can actually go farther than that. At certain levels, you end up with extra squigglies and so on, but we're not using that in my classroom. These are the 3 levels we're going to be working with. Now, sometimes they simply increase the number of brackets. To show you what I mean, here's an example. Instead of using a larger set of brackets, they doubled the brackets up. I prefer not to use this method because you have to count the number of brackets and it's easy to mix up. Like there's 3 brackets here. This one belongs with this one. And then these 2 belong over here. That can get confusing. I think if you take the same question and you write it like this, it's far easier to work with. This is a technique used in some places, but I think this one's much easier to work with, and this is what we use in my classroom and in the work that we'll be doing in this video series. Back to BEDMAS. This is something you must memorize. You have to know this off by heart, inside out, upside down, and backwards, because it is absolutely fundamental to so many things you're going to be doing. Next are exponents and roots. And if you don't know what those are, we are going to be learning them later on. Next, we have 2 operations we're quite familiar with, division and multiplication. And last, addition and subtraction. I've also left a small note, left to right when the operations are equal. If you have 2 that are the same, you go from left to right. Okay. There's one really important point that has to be included in this. And unfortunately, in my first year of teaching, I really messed this up. It's really important to realize that division and multiplication are considered equal. And addition and subtraction are considered equal. When I first started my teaching career, I didn't do that, which caused a pretty serious problem. I was lucky though, I caught it late in my first year and I was able to reteach those students I'd taught. But boy, did I feel foolish. So, here we are, looking at BEDMAS. In fact, you might actually want to write it this way instead. This may help you remember it better, that division and multiplication are equal. An easy mistake to make would be to do this. In a question like this, where you have oops, leave that out. That you might actually try to do the division first. But you're actually supposed to do the multiplication first because these are equal and you go from left to right. Now, there are many questions where this might not make a difference to the actual eventual answer in the end, but there are questions out there that it will matter. So that's a brief introduction to what the order of operations is.